welcome to another F12 programming. My name is Mike Hewitt.
I'm Jacob Rains.
And today we're talking, what are we talking about?
Today I just wanted to dig into overriding the ToString method, which seems like a really weird thing to dig into, but it has a lot of benefits that I don't think people realize, and I don't think it happens very often. At least I don't see it happen very often. So I just want to put forth a scenario here. We're going to make a new class. And I'm going to call it employee, which I think is something fairly common. Let's go ahead and make that public since we have this in our logic project. So what's some of the stuff we'd have an employee? We're going to have an ID, right? We're going to have a public string of name, probably.
Yeah.
Actually, we're probably going to have, now that I think about it, we're probably going to have a first name and a last name. Department, and we're going to have a whole and more, right?
Yeah.
So now what we're going to do, just to iterate the point here, is we're going to have a list of employees, and I'm basically setting up a scenario here that's going to cause us problems. And we're just going to put a few things in there. So, you know what, I should have built a constructor on here just for speed purposes. So let's say public employee int, didn't name my variables well, but let's just and we're going to go ahead and set these. Almost had it. First name. Yep, there we go. Last name. I never know when it's going to figure it out on its own or when it isn't. And department. The capital D. So we're going to come back to our program. We're just going to make some of these real fast. So list.add new employee need some names. Mike, what are we going with here? Bob?
Yeah.
Smith. And he's in accounting. Alright, we're almost there. Get through the boring stuff here. Whoops.
Dan. Brown.
Dan. Brown.
And we can change that employee ID.
Yeah.
Trying to keep him short. Mike.
Jones.
Jones.
And one's a programmer, and one is in sales. And we're going to have a for each or something like that looping through them here. Nothing fancy. And I'm going to, just to have something to do here, we're going to go ahead and do a console.writeLine. And I'm going to do E.
Okay.
Just to have something to put out here.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a breakpoint, and we're going to run this. Got my console window up here, and when we step through here, we're stepping through the first employee, and you'll see when I hover over him, it says hello logic.employee, letting me know that E is an employee class.
Right.
But I don't really know anything about him. Now I can go into my my drill down here, and I can pull out the individual variables, or I can pull open a watch window, and I can come in here. And there's a couple different ways we can get in here to dig into this variable. And we can go ahead and let this program run. I'll take this breakpoint out. And you'll see in my program I got employee, employee, employee.
Yep. It ran
So
to that.
it ran, it worked, it didn't error, but it's not particularly helpful.
Yep.
I'm going to come back to my employee class, and here we're going to do a little trick. I'm going to say override And you can see it already knows ToString is one of the virtual methods that's available to be overridden. So it's going to go ahead and just handle that for me. It's by default going to give me the base.ToString. I'm just going to wipe that out altogether, and I'm going to make up my own string.
I like it.
For what I want to do for a ToString on an employee. And I'm going to put in all the stuff that I think would be useful to me. So I'm going to put employee ID, maybe a colon, just for readability. We'll
First
put
name,
in
last name. Oh yeah.
And I need to actually grab the right variable. I'm going to put in first name, last name, works in department. And I can put whatever I want in here that I think is going to be particularly useful for me. For the most part, when we're programming, we don't use the ToString.
And the ToString is on every class.
It's on every class.
Yep.
It is. There's like 3 things that .NET actually promises us will always happen, and that's one of the 3. You will always have a ToString on an object.
Yep.
It is required. It inherits from the root object. It is a universal. So we don't use it much though, because it's really not a useful method. But I'm going to show you why it is useful. Not so much for in your program per se, but now when we step through the code, I'm going to go ahead and put my breakpoint back in here. I'm going to run my program again. We've hit my breakpoint. Now when I hover over my E, 1, Bob Smith, works in accounting. Step through a little more. 2, Dan Brown, works in programming. Now, because if I do this on all of my classes, I can hover over anything and see what it actually is.
Now, I would assumed inside there I'd have to go e.ToString, but the console line is immediately doing it for us.
Yes, the console line always does a ToString on anything you pass it, so
it's kind of a shortcut.
It just always handles. So if I hit play on here, you'll see in my program now I actually got those ToStrings printed out.
Yeah.
And if I actually needed that functionality, I probably would have created a property or a function that did that work for me. What I really got out of overriding the ToString is the ability to, for me as a programmer, while the code is in its paused state, to be able to hover over these. This is incredibly helpful when you get into polymorphism and you don't even know what it is. Right? So you've got an employee and maybe they all inherit from a root person object.
But a lot of times also logging. It's a big thing for logging as well, because a lot of times you go and you get, you get what the object is, but what you want to know is what the object,
Yeah, you see it in an error message. It's like, employee was, had some error. It's like, well, that doesn't really help me, that it's this class. What I really want to know is what's the data inside of it, and that's what we get out of that ToString. Really helps me with debugging, so I wanted to make sure everybody knew about that trick.
Yes. I like it a lot.
Thank you for watching that video from F12 Programming. Please remember to like and subscribe. That does so much for us in the ratings. You have no idea. Also, don't forget to comment below. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck coding.